So here we are with another edition of Bantams SmallTalk, end of the season. I'm delighted to be joined by Craig Andrew. Now, Craig, the reason why I'd like to, obviously, for this interview is, and thanks for your time, is I'd like to talk about your charity walk. First of all, can you possibly tell me what inspired you to do that, please?
Yeah, so obviously, big fan of Stephen Darby in his playing days. He were, such a consummate professional and anything I needed in a player. And to see him kind of struck down with motor neuron disease, in his prime years, it kind of struck a chord with me. So I wanted to do something to raise money for him. But then obviously because of the lockdown, it proved difficult to do something. So once the opportunity arose, then yeah, and I thought I'll do something quite monumental rather than just a marathon or something like that. So yeah, he was the main reason for me to do it.
Yep, and what would you say was the most challenging thing that you had to overcome whilst doing that?
Just the walking, 30 odd miles a day. It's just absolute torture on your feet, and mentally it's quite tough to be out there. And for quite a few days all by myself, and you have to kind of talk yourself through it. And it's a massive challenge, more harder than I thought it would be. And really difficult.
And did you stay in hotels each night, or did you take a tent or something? Or
I was in hotels each night. So along the route, my father-in-law planned for where I need to stay, and like an ideal stopping off point each night, and just booked the nearest travel lodge or the Premier Inn along the way. Yeah.
Yep, and did you bump into sort of City fans on your way, or was it just on the Saturday when you finish your final few steps at Valley Parade?
Yeah, so when I first started, actually, there were a few people who walked with me that first day, and there was a fella called Andy, who's a Bradford City fan who lives down south, and he came and did the first stretch of the walk with me. Second day, I had a guy called Tim from, he did the leg to Milton Keynes with me. That was great. And then I met some City fans along the way when I was kind of Northampton way. Funnily enough, they played Northampton that day, and some of the fans were staying in the hotel, and they come across them. And then obviously, the last day it was nice to be in and amongst the City fans. So yeah, it was great.
And obviously you've got a great section by the fans where you're on the pitch. What did it feel like to be stood on the pitch in front of thousands of fans? Because obviously I know what it's like myself.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, really good. You've been on it yourself, so you'll know. But it's a great atmosphere, and we had 15,000 fans that day. And actually we played bloody well that game as well. So it was nice to be on pitch at half time with everybody in good spirits. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was a fantastic experience, and the club were great. So.
Yep. Before we sort of move on to this season and maybe next season, can I ask you how much you raised, and have you got anything else planned for next year, perhaps?
Well, I raised about £3,000. I am tempted to do other stuff to raise money. I haven't quite put my mind to what I want to do next, but probably something a little bit easier than that. But yeah, I'm still keen to do some fundraising. And I will be doing that in the next year or two. Yeah, definitely.
And we'll move on to City now. Do you think if Mark Hughes had come in earlier, we could have possibly got promoted this year? I've got a funny feeling maybe, but maybe next year I've got confident that it might be finally.
Yeah, I mean, when Derek Adams came in, it got Morecambe promoted, and so he had that good track record, and he had it with Plymouth. But I think the problem is those are small clubs, and that's an underdog for them to get promoted and play that football. But we're not an underdog club in that division, so I don't think it were the right appointment really when I look back. Whereas Mark Hughes is a big statement manager, and he's going to get us playing football and has got us playing football the right way. And I think if he'd have been in earlier on in the season, probably before January, and he'd have been able to bring in some of his own players, I think we'd have been in a much better position. But, I'm optimistic about what he's going to bring for the future.
Yep, and you're hoping to come to a few games next season, because obviously you live down in wherever you live. Is it London somewhere area? And obviously...
And I live down in Hastings on the South Coast. So, Yeah, no, I'm keen. I'm keen to get to as many games as possible next season, and that they do come down here a fair bit. I don't know who's going to be in league next season just yet until the playoffs are sorted out. But yeah, when I look at the fixtures and if there's hope nearby, I'll try and grab as many games as possible, and then hopefully get up to some games up north as well. So
yeah, before we go into the retained list, we've obviously now who's the player of the season. It's O'Connor, but to me, I thought he was a fantastic player. But for me, I would have given it to Songa. What about yourself?
I wanted to give it to Powdy anyway. I don't dislike him, but I think he's prone to a loss of temper and silly red cards. I were there at the Colchester game when he'd already been booked and he just needlessly went through the back of someone when it was going out of play. So I know there's an offer there, but I wouldn't have been sad to see him go, even though he has been a decent professional for the club. I think if we're going to move forward, he's probably not the level that we need in terms of a solid centre back. I'm thinking Andrew David, Rory McArdle kind of player who said his third day, don't make many mistakes, and certainly have the right temperament. Yang Songo, quality player. I think he'll do well for us going forward. I'd prefer to see him in a midfield role than defence, but he's been doing well. But I can see why people give Powdy the player of the year, but as I say, for me, I think we need a slightly better quality if we're going to get out of the division.
Yep, and what do you think to the retained list and the player that was signed this year? I forgot his name already, but the keeper from that was signed.
Yeah, I mean, little can be said about him because we haven't really seen him play football, but he's of good pedigree. I think, Mark Hughes knows his man, so I trust him. And then obviously getting Jamie Walker in on a permanent, that's fantastic. Yeah, and then, the people who've gone, no disrespect to them, but they didn't do enough, really, to earn that new contract. And other than Cookie, I'd probably like to have kept Callum Cook, but, it is. But I'd also, there's a few lads who are on a contract for next year who I prefer not to see that wear the shirt again. And hopefully Mark Hughes feels the same way, and they'll be kind of moved on if the right offers will come along. But we've got the shape of a good squad, and it'll be interesting to see who we bring in.
Yeah, and although we get optimistic every year, because I do you think finally Mark Hughes can actually be the man? We're not going to be saying the same old things that we say every year, not just being hopeful.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're a Bradford City fan, bear in mind how often we are disappointed. You wouldn't support the club if you didn't get excited at the start of each season. That's what football's all about. It's all about hope and optimism, and then to be let down. But I actually genuinely think this time round, we've got the right guy in place. The things that Ryan Sparks has put in place over the last couple of years, it's taken its time to rid us of the Rahic era. Those cobwebs still needed shaking off, but we're there now. We've got the right person in post as CEO. We've got the right person in post in terms of manager. We've got the right, recruitment. I'm really positive about the way we go forward.
Yeah, and obviously we're all fans at the end of the day. But what would your words be to those fans that always seem to have to say something? It don't matter what we do, or who's in charge, or who we sign. They always seem to be not happy. No matter what we do.
Well, there's always going to be those fans, and there's people who are pessimistic by nature, and it's the nature of football. To be honest with you, that you'll always get some fans. We could be top at league, and because we've lost a game, it's not good enough, and there'll always be people like that, and I understand that point of view, but I prefer to be optimistic, and that's why I like football, because at the start of kick-off at 3 o'clock, anybody can win the game. I'll always back us.
Yeah,
so for those that are like that, then it's an hard life watching Bradford City. But for the rest of us, we can be optimistic.
It is. And how long have you been a Bradford fan? And obviously, do people find that says with you living where you live? Or
Well, I mean, my dad first started taking me to games in '80s, so I think he was saying the other day actually that the first season that I was taking to games were the season where the Bradford City fire happened, but earlier on in the season, so I was quite lucky to see a good team at that point. And when I was up there, I went to games regularly, but now it's fleeting games because of work commitments, family commitments, but yeah. I mean, my accent kind of gives it away down here. So, but everybody kind of respectfully, acknowledges that I'm a Bradford City fan. There's not many of them down here, to be honest with you. Yeah. The tech kind of London based. There's not many in Hastings. So, yeah. But yeah, it's still nice. People know who City are, and wish as well, really.
And what's your most memorable game when you have managed to get up? Have you been up for any of the big games like the win over Leeds, the win over Arsenal, any match standing in mind that you actually made?
Yeah, well, I was at the Chelsea game when we were 2-0 down and came back and won 4-2. I was there for that. Best game I've ever seen live. Premier League champions, unbeaten at home. Mourinho had never conceded more than 2 goals in an home match in his managerial career. That was a fantastic game. But I've been plenty in the years beforehand, and I'd probably say that season that we went up to Premier League, I think there were a couple of games like when we beat Hammered Norwich, Bristol City. There's been some really fantastic games that I've been to, some good teams that I've seen. And I was there actually as well when Naki got his first goal against Rochdale, funnily enough. Gary Jones was in midfield for them. And, he turned a couple of people and banged it in from 30 yards into the top corner. So, as a Bradford City fan, I've seen some good performances. So, those are the moments we hang on to, aren't they, as City fans. There's lots of memories that drift away because the performances weren't great. Lots of good ones to remember.
Yep, and just sort of going back to the maybe next season again. What sort of players would you like to see come into the club? You obviously said, do you think we need to concentrate on strikers, or what do you think we need? Do you think we need a goal poacher?
Yeah, I mean, we need a solid spine of a team. That's whenever we've done well. We've always got a solid spine of a team. I think about that 2013 team. We had Gary Jones in the middle, we had Wells and Hansen up front, we had McArdle and Davies at the back. We always had a good spine of the side, and that's what we need. I think we've got the basis of it. Andy Cook probably needs a bit of support. He's not really an up front alone striker. He's not. So I think that's why it's key that Jamie Walker came in. I'd probably prefer somebody with a bit more legs, because at this level, if you've got pace and you can get in behind, you can kind of forgive the other stuff. And then, midfield looking good as well, providing we hold on to Watt as well. I think he's a quality player. And then, the buildings of the back four, I'd like we'd probably need a better left back. I'd like to see Greg Lee come in. He got released. He was good at us, good potential. The keeping position sorted. I just think we need a bit of a mixture of experience and youth. So if we can tap into youth systems, but we've just our under 18s have just had a fantastic season. If a couple of those lads can come through, a couple of lads on loan from Prem clubs, and a mixture of a few experienced lads. I see rumours of Jeff Cameron and a few other kind of old veterans of a higher standard being linked to the club. And actually, I wouldn't be against it, because you think Gary Jones was 36 when he come to our club, and he just had that calming influence. So, I think a good blend. 3 or 4 players in right positions, and we've got a great team to go forward.
Yep, and obviously you won't go to shows, but have you got any City memorabilia in your house? I've got a couple of stuff, but like a few shirts and, well, you can't see me behind, but I've got a window thing, and I've actually got a signed photo from when we beat Chelsea. I don't know if you've seen that. I won it in a raffle prize.
Yeah, well, I have actually got in this thing here. I've got loads of old programs and stuff, and then just random ones that we went. But yeah, I've got all programs from League Cup finals and stuff like that, and then I've got Yeah, I've got loads of programs and stuff like that. So all hiding away in there from League Cup games, from the League Cup final, the Chelsea game, the Northampton playoff, which I went to, and then just random ones like Southend a few years ago, Southend away, where actually we turned a performance there, and we never did at Rootsall. So it was quite go and actually get a performance. But yeah, I keep a lot of stuff like that, match tickets, stubs, going back years. So yeah.
And obviously going out of Bradford City, I understand you do a bit of refereeing, and how do you find that?
Yeah, it's not too bad. Well, to be honest, I used to play. I played on a Sunday, and I wasn't particularly enamoured with the refereeing standards. And the guy that run it said, "Oh well, if you think you can do better, I need a ref on a Monday night." And I went, "I'll tell you what, I reckon I could." So anyway, jokingly, I went up and refereed one game, and he said, "Actually, if you want to do it properly, I'd like you on board." So I'd not refereed for. In fact, the last game that I'd refereed before that was at Valley Parade. There were a cup final that I refereed many years ago. I'd focused on playing, and I'd not done reffing. But anyway, I've been doing that for a few months now, and it's really good fun. But then I prefer playing, but I don't mind doing the reffing.
Yeah, that's obviously absolutely brilliant. And obviously, I take it you've got a family at home, and what sort of things do you enjoy doing with them? Do you sort of go cycling? Do you go to the cinema now with Carrigan, or do you just have to go on walks and stuff like that?
Yeah, I've got a wife, 4 kids between. It's a busy lifestyle. But yeah, out and about. We love the Marvel movies. We go there quite regularly whenever one of those comes out. And we're just outdoorsy quite, but football is front and focus in our family, so kind of forced by me. So that's the key pastime.
Yep, and sort of before we sort of finish this interview, have you got anyone that you want to mention, or anyone that you want to thank, for anything sort of to help with your raffle, or how much you raise or anything like that? Is anyone that this is your time to mention anyone you want?
Yeah, well, I mean, big thanks to everybody who supported me, including club and the charities involved. The Darby Foudation. They were great as well. And just everybody who helped me, like my father-in-law, the City fans who came along to help me on that stretch of the walk. And to my family and friends who came and supported me on that last leg. It was fantastic to have everybody involved, and to the supporters really for the reception that I got that day.
Yeah, so that's been absolutely brilliant. So thanks for your time. Unless there's like anything else, like I've said, you want to talk about, that's completely up to you. If there's anything else you want to mention, so.
I know it's been good to talk to you too, Nick. To be honest, I've enjoyed it, and best of luck with your podcast. And keep going, bud.
Yeah, we'll do, buddy. And hopefully, if you're down here next season, hopefully have a pint together, my round.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Definitely.
Anyway, so thanks for watching another edition of Bantams SmallTalk.